Hello and welcome to my review of the Perfect Grade Zeta Gundam. In this part of the review, I'll be checking out the manuals and taking a detailed look at the inner frame. So the kit comes with 3 manuals. The instruction and construction manuals are common to older PGs, while the transformation manual is obviously exclusive to the PG Zeta, though it's really more like a pamphlet. So the cover of the instruction manual is a nice colored shot of the PG Zeta head. Opening it up, you're going to get pictures of a nicely painted PG Zeta, its various components, the mobile suit, as well as the Wave Rider mode. There's going to be a lot of captions in Japanese, which unfortunately I can't read, but the main titles are in English. Good luck getting the hands looking that clean without paint. So moving on, you're going to get information on the genealogy of the Zeta Gundam, including the Mark II and the Rakushiki. Also some nice prototype line art of the Wave Rider and the MS form. Next is a section on the arms and legs. Again, I can't read Japanese, but there's a lot of information in here. Looks like they're testing out the legs for the Wave Rider mode. On the Wave Rider section, we're going to get a nice picture of the Wave Rider entering the atmosphere, a heat distribution map, showing off the wave shooter variation as well as variations of the shield. Here's a section on the cockpit and some of the weapons. And here is another section focusing on the Wave Rider, specifically its detransformation. Here it looks like it's going to take the Zeta Gundam 30 seconds to detransform from the Wave Rider into MS mode. And the last page is just going to be a sticker guide as well as a color guide for the PG Zeta. I like how the front and back flaps are just line arts of the MS and the Wave Rider mode respectively. And for the back, we're going to get a nice little CG shot of the Wave Rider hovering over the Earth. The construction manual is about what you'd expect. The cover features a blue scale shot of the PG head. I guess it's to mimic a blueprint. Interesting that it's the same picture as the instruction manual. So opening up, it's going to start off with a runner rundown. And it also shows some non-standard stuff like the metal landing gears, LEDs, and springs. Lots of springs. So you're first going to be building up the arms. Then you'll move on to the legs. After the legs, you'll move on to the head unit, and then the chest and waist unit. Once all of that is assembled, you'll be going on to the backpack, which looks appropriately complicated. A lot of springs and LEDs to wire. And finally, you move on to the beam rifle and the shield, as well as the beam saber with an LED in it. And on the back side is just a nice blue scale front shot of the Wave Rider to match the cover. So the transformation manual is going to be bigger than the other manuals, but also a lot thinner. It's going to be made of a thick cardstock material as opposed to just regular paper. And when you open it up, you're going to get nice whole 3 pages of transformation material. There's going to be 26 steps in total, though technically 25. The last step is just turning on the LEDs. I like how it's in color, really helps us who can't read the Japanese captions to transform this. And if you turn it around, I like how they continue the motif of the back cover being the Wave Rider mode with the front cover being the mobile suit mode. So moving on to the inner frame and starting from the bottom, the toes here have a bit of articulation. The front and back of the feet will slide down completely for the transformation. I really like this chrome piston here. It really adds a lot to the inner frame. In terms of the ankles, you're going to be able to slide side to side, like so, and front and back, like so. From the front, you're going to get a very nice view of 2 chrome pistons. There are also 2 chrome pistons in the back, but you can barely see them thanks to this white flap, which also has a bit of mobility, as does the thruster that it's attached to. So overall, the feet inner frame, as well as the ankle and lower leg, is very nicely detailed. But my favorite part probably has to be these movable vents. If you just dig your fingers in there, you can slide them out and open up these vents. It really completes the PG feel of this kit. Now there is a spring here in the ankles which allow you to spring the feet up and down just a little bit. So it's kind of interesting how the upper leg attaches onto the lower leg. You're going to get this huge gaping hole here. This is my first Zeta kit, but the Master Grade and the Real Grade seem to follow the same design. There's quite a few springs here on the upper leg, which should hopefully keep its many pieces in place. You're going to get 2 on the back. This flap is attached with a spring, as well as here. The bottom one seems to help the front of the knee during the transformation. So for the bend, you're going to get a solid 160-degree bend. There's not a lot of sliding armor pieces, but you do get 2 nice, huge chrome pistons from the front. So again, the bend, but from the front. Very nice. Now for the transformation, you're just going to bend the knee upwards. Things will slide nicely into place down here. And then slide the upper thigh into place, and of course bend the feet into place as well. Moving on to the arm and shoulders, the shoulder is going to have a nice amount of detail. I really like all the piping that's going on here. The flap here can move, and the vent here will move in and out for the transformation. The actual arm is also very nicely detailed. You're going to get some chrome pistons back here, and non-chrome pistons near the wrist. For articulation, it's going to rotate 360 at the shoulder. The arm bend is going to be a solid 180-degree bend. The elbow joint here also has some movement off to the side. The wrist has some nice mobility as well, making use of that piston. The hands are going to be your standard PG manipulators. They're going to be fully articulate, with some additional movement here at the wrist for additional bends. The chest and the waist section are going to be built together. The waist has the standard attachments for the legs and a piston at the front. No comment. For the transformation, you're going to pull down this latch here, and this is going to allow the legs here to detach and go off to transform. On the back, you're going to get another piston. Again, no comment. So for the chest, it's not really a full inner frame. You're going to be getting a lot of colored armor pieces on here. You can pull down this piece here to show off the pilot figure of Camille, though he seems to be sitting in the wrong position. On the back is just going to be a huge blue piece with the connection points for the backpack. So for the transformation, you're going to be able to slide out this nose part here, and this will allow the entire upper chest to fold up and for the head to pull down into the chest cavity. The abs will slide in like so. This is on a spring, so it does tend to fly up. And once you do that, you're going to be able to bend the shoulders here inwards for the transformation. So last but not least, the inner frame of the head is also very nicely detailed. There is going to be LED wirings in there for the LED gimmick. Overall, I'm not too big of a fan of the huge eyes, but on the inner frame, it doesn't look half bad. So here's the inner frame fully assembled. It looks very nice, though the amount of armor pieces on the chest is a bit disappointing. Here is a spin around so you get an idea of just how detailed the inner frame is on these older PGs. It's kind of a shame that it's just going to get covered up. You're not going to get anything super dynamic like out of the PG Strike inner frame, but the PG Zeta inner frame can still pull off some poses. The articulation on the inner frame isn't that great. The chest has no functional articulation because it's just one piece, so it really limits what it can do. But that being said, it can pull off a kneeling down pose. One thing that I have noticed is that due to the use of its many locking mechanisms and screws, the inner frame of the PG Zeta is really solid and tight. I guess since it's a transformation kit, they really want to go the extra mile to make sure that it's stable. So here's something that I didn't really expect. The full inner frame is capable of transforming into the Wave Rider mode. Pretty impressive and pretty cool. So this has been my look at the manual and inner frame of the PG Zeta. The manual has very nice presentation. I really like the two manual approach, with the construction and instruction manual being separate. In recent PGs, they've opted to merge them into one, though those do have the benefit of having English captions. I really like the inner frame despite its limited mobility. When you compare it to something like the Unicorn or the Exia's inner frame, the detail is really night and day. Yeah, most of it is going to be covered up, but you can still see a glimpse of the chrome pistons when it's posed, and the piping through the open hatch gimmick. I don't know if the RG or the MG inner frames can transform, but the PG inner frame being able to transform, along with the vents moving on the legs, were two pleasant surprises. I'll talk more about the build in my final verdict, but I often found myself surprised by the engineering on this inner frame. I think that overall I still like the PG Strike inner frame better due to the mobility and the sliding armor gimmick mimicking human muscles, but this is an older PG inner frame and it definitely has its charms. So thank you for watching the first part of my PG Zeta review. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next part.